Jongens zijn het wel. Ja.
Bart, dit is jouw...
Nog niet.
Het geluid is aan.
Nu wel.
Ik hoor nog geen geluid, zegt hij.
Ja, maar ik heb het net begonnen.
Oké.
Het zal zo doorkomen.
Hello, good afternoon. We're going to do this talk in English because there are also people following it from the internet. And welcome at the first Blockbar this month. That is themed decentralized finance, DeFi. We're going to have two talks today, one by me and one by Bart van Maarseveen. My talk will be a bit more about DeFi, the current status, and projects that we could see in the last few years. And Bart's talk is more about the future of DeFi. So let's start. Is the stream working well at the moment?
No.
Where is the camera? The camera is over there. So that should be good, right? Yeah? Okay, perfect. So DeFi, my question mark here is actually to you. Because who here is familiar with DeFi and experimented already a bit with DeFi? Can we have hands? Wow, half of the room has experience with DeFi. Can you name the projects that you tried or experimented with? Like,
Maar ik heb die cursus vol van Ivan Tech.
Ivan on Tech.
Ivan Tech, DeFi cursus. En dan heeft al die smart contracts op de Ethereum, waarbij je dan de DAO tokens aan elkaar kunt exchange, kunt uitwisselen. Dat weet je waar ik op zit te spelen.
Uniswap.
Ja.
Uniswap.
Uniswap. Ja, nog,
you should claim your free tokens then.
Ja, nou ja, ik heb het gedaan en ik kwam met grote vraagtekens eruit. Ik van nou, dat rammelt voor mij aan alle kanten. Dus zo sta ik hier ook een beetje in. Van, vertel me meer en leg me uit.
Ja. So you experimented with Uniswap and with DAOs.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Someone else? What projects?
With Atomic Dex,
Hi.
decentralized exchange on Komodo.
Yeah.
Is that software for it? Traded some trades?
The decentralized exchange is DeFi, I would say.
Maybe part of it.
Coming back to that as well.
Aave, Compound, Uniswap, Balancer, PyDAO,
PyDAO, I heard about it.
many more.
Yeah.
Sushi?
No, did not touch sushi.
Okay. Okay, cool. So now, yeah, we have an idea about DeFi projects. DeFi is, a new word, kind of, that was coined in 2018, I think, by 0x, not sure.
Yeah.
But now it's, the new ICO, like ICO was a hype term and now DeFi is a hype term, I would say. So we're going to talk about DeFi. I will give you an overview of what I think is DeFi, and we can discuss later. So it's a good moment because Ethereum exists for 5 years now, this month actually, and Ethereum made lots of stuff possible because they have their smart contracts, and with smart contracts you can easily build applications that do stuff with tokens, and tokens have all to do with DeFi. So what is DeFi then? Well, actually, let's first talk about Bitcoin. Andreas Antonopoulos said Bitcoin is open, so anyone can take part. That's cool. The network is everywhere, it's worldwide. Bitcoin does not have an opinion on how to use it. It's core infrastructure, so you can use it any way you want. And it's public and transparent what it does. So in advance, you know what an application does. You don't have to trust that it will be good, but you can read the code and then verify that it will execute like you would like that to see. So basically, it's open, it's everywhere, it's censorship proof, and it's transparent. That's also applied on DeFi. All the attributes that Bitcoin has, DeFi has it as well. Of course, not every project is fully decentralized, but lots of parts in decentralized projects are open everywhere, censorship-proof and transparent, and that makes it interesting, I would say. So one of the applications that I would say is already decentralized finance is Bitcoin, because Bitcoin makes it possible to send payments to each other, decentralized, and it's finance. So that's one of the first examples of what DeFi is in my view. Also, Bitcoin makes it possible to program money, and DeFi is all about programmable money. So with Bitcoin, from the start, it was already possible to lock funds. So you could give your children, for example, Bitcoin in the first 18 years, but only if they would be 18 years old, then they could release the funds, right? So time locks were already in Bitcoin from the start. And time locks make stuff possible. That's also interesting for other applications. So for example, decentralized swaps, atomic swaps, or decentralized exchanges are an example of DeFi as well, if you would ask me. It's decentralized finance, and you can swap coins to other coins using applications that run in a decentralized manner. You don't have to trust a company that's in between, but you can verify the code that a decentralized exchange is running on, and therefore you know that it will happen or it will not happen, and it can be very trustworthy that way. So those are the old school DeFi 0.0 phase projects. Then there are also applications for a while. So for example, you have ENS, the Ethereum name system, and that's, if you ask me, also an example of what DeFi is. Because with ENS, you can register domain names ending with .eth, and by sending an amount of value in Ether, for example, you get in exchange the temporary ownership of a domain name. And it's programmed in that way. So you can really read the smart contract code of the ENS system, and you can verify that if you will send money to it, then this and this will be the result of that. So that's also an example of DeFi, actually. Same with a library. That's an application that makes it possible to watch videos. And sometimes a video has a price. So you have to pay one library coin to be able to see the video. So then what such an application does is you download the application, it's on your computer, it's open source, you can run it locally. It will check the blockchain if you have access to the video and if you paid for it. And if you did, it will show you the video and it will start playing the video. Library already experimented as well with streaming videos. So it's also a kind of financial system around a decentralized application, which is in this case a video library application. So as you already have seen, I see the term DeFi way broader than what lots of people say about DeFi, which is Ethereum only. There are actually lots of applications already that have been in the blockchain space that are decentralized and are about finance. What I think is a really interesting one is the Amsterdam-based, I think, Guts tickets. What they said is it should be easy to buy concert tickets, for example, but it should not only be easy to buy a ticket, it should also be possible to set a maximum and a minimum price for resellers. So there will not be the case that that someone buys all the tickets and then resells it for lots of money. So in this case, they used the programmable money feature to have a minimum price and a maximum price for tickets. And actually, I find it brilliant because every time I have a ticket that is not having this system, what I have that if I don't want to go anymore to a concert, then I have to put it on TicketSwap or on Marketplaats or something, a marketplace. But in goods tickets, you can easily just say, okay, no, I'm not interested anymore in this ticket. And you sell it back to the platform, and then it becomes available again, the exact ticket number, for someone else to buy with that minimum or maximum price. So the marketplace is built in, and that's an example of a smart way to work with stuff that is valuable. So finance, basically, in this case, a ticket. Then, of course, you have, for example, Gitcoin, which is a marketplace, and where you can say you do a task, and if you complete the task, you get a certain amount of money. And in Gitcoin, it's possible to prove that something was done correctly. So in the first place, the person that wants to hire someone looks up funds, and then if someone completes the task successfully, then the funds get released, and you immediately get your money. And that's a nice system, and you can connect all kinds of stuff to it. So for example, Kleros, which is dispute resolution system that also is applied on blockchain projects. And thereby you create a marketplace that is almost automated, whereby if you lock your funds, you know exactly what happens and when the funds get released to one or the other person. So, well, DeFi. Yeah. Then there are lots of other examples. I name one or two of them. Here's SIA. It's a disk space that you can rent by sending cryptocurrency. So if you spend a bit of money, then you get access to the files that you stored. Or if you give some money, then people make sure that your family photos are stored as long as you give money for it. So in this case, you have a program that makes it possible to give money for disk space, and you have that also for CPU power or for rendering, for graphical stuff like rendering videos. And you have lots of other examples like that. And you have energy charging, for example. So here is the example of a Nexus in the Netherlands that did a proof of concept for having a car, an electrical car, that needs energy. So you could go to a charging pole, and then the car would have a wallet, and the charging pole would have a wallet, and per part of kilowatt hour, you would pay automatically. So you would be streaming money to the electricity pole. And that's also super interesting, because then that's another example of finance that is decentralized and that is actually applied on the physical world in this case. And Jaguar said they wanted to give IOTA wallets to their Jaguar cars. I'm not sure if that's still the case, but it's fun that a big car manufacturer thinks about putting a cryptocurrency wallet inside their cars. So this is all DeFi 1.0. It exists for a long time. And you also have locks that automatically open if you send money to it, for example, for hotel chambers. You have the energy marketplace where you can, for example, exchange solar energy to euros. There are insurance systems. Again, the sharing resources part. There are also prediction markets. Those are the kind of newer systems of the last 4 years or so. And it's also used a lot for crowdfunding. So you have continuous crowdfunding. That was a popular topic in 2017, which is a system for crowdfunding whereby it uses it's called token bonded curves. It's a way that if you invest in a project and you don't want to invest anymore, then you pay always a little bit of fee. And thereby, both when investing and with disinvesting, the fundraising goal profits from it. So you have really interesting systems now for fundraising, actually, that get better and better. But then this was all done in the Bitcoin space and the library space and also the Ethereum space. Now the new kid on the block and the new name is called DeFi. And we also already mentioned some DeFi projects. DAI wasn't mentioned, I think, but DAI is a really interesting project. It exists for 4 years or so, and it makes it possible to have a stable coin whereby one token is always $1. It works very well, and it works because of the fact that it's a script running on Ethereum with some game theory attached to that, applied to that. And it actually makes it possible to have a stable coin that works without intermediary persons. So the world's first unbiased currency. And that's a really complex smart contract, actually. There are lots of things attached to that smart contract. The same with compound.interest, which is a borrowing and lending market. You can give money to the platform and in exchange get the interest. And sometimes the interest is very high on annual basis, for example, 6 or more %. Last year was a good year for all those lending platforms. Then Uniswap was called. Uniswap is a decentralized exchange that runs on Ethereum, and it makes it possible to easily swap coins from one coin to another without a real intermediary, but running on a smart contract whereby in advance you can read what it will do with the funds that you send it to. Also a combination of a script and game theory. And Augur is one of the examples of the prediction market. So you can bet money on a certain outcome, and therefore, because people can lose money if the outcome will not be there, you can see what the predictions of people are, because if people guess right, they will earn money for that. And Augur is interesting as a project, and it can also be attached to all kinds of other DeFi-like projects. Last example here is synthetic assets. This one, synthetic, makes smart contracts that are audited very well and open source and used by many application developers. And they make it possible to tokenize assets, for example, gold. So you can have gold as collateral, and there will be a token minted. And from that moment on, you can send gold to each other in real time without much of fee using blockchains, in this case, Ethereum. And the last one is pool together. It makes it possible to send money to a pool. Lots of people do that. And once in a month, I think, the interest that was gained by giving liquidity to the pool, that is sent to one of the people that are in the pool. So it's like a lottery. And the lottery uses all those things like compound interest for lending money to other people. And the interest that is gained, it sums up and it's sent to one person. So you have all kinds of DeFi 2.0 systems that combine lots of smart contracts, basically. And that's super interesting. And last year we saw the start of all these kinds of projects. So the open, worldwide, transparent, modular, composable smart contracts are super cool, because these are like mixed out in a presentation last year, like Legos. It's from your presentation about DeFi. And so these blocks can be interconnected. And because these are open source, you know exactly what you can expect from them. And they can be attached to each other because they are all running on open public blockchains. And that makes lots of things possible. Here's one example of last month. It's called Sushi Swap. What they did was they forked Uniswap, and they created some extra functionality on top. And what you see with open source stuff, if you think about it, is the next question, but is that you can innovate very quickly. And that's the cool thing about Ethereum space. You can innovate and try things and break things and then innovate again. And it goes very fast, all the stuff. And this one that had 350 million US dollars of liquidity in 1 week. So they got lots of funds in 1 week when they started this project. And you see how quick things in DeFi go these days. And that's what you see here as well. So this is charts with the total value of locked funds in smart contracts. So when you send funds to the smart contract and you lock them, you get extra features, the features of that smart contract, but your funds are locked inside that smart contract. And here you see how fast that goes. So here you see like $6 billion is locked in this case, Ethereum smart contracts in May 2020. So the amount of people that use DeFi for gaining money or experimenting is really, really going really fast. So this is an overview of what we had before with DeFi, like Bitcoin, what we gained later on, like the projects, like the Ethereum name system, like library, like the energy market systems, etc. And now the new phase that we are going to, which are lots of smart contracts that get interconnected and that make new things possible. And that's my presentation. And now we will have a presentation by Bart Marseveen about the future, I think, of DeFi. Yeah, let's do discussion or Q&A afterwards.
Perfect. Thank you, Bart.
Slides on this? Bart WR. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Okay, thanks, Bart. I have a presentation that I think is needed because I already talked to a lot of people beforehand today, and a lot of you seem to think that DeFi is, as it's in the news currently, is like a big pyramid scheme or cowboy space, or at least some kind of thing that can't have any real value but is pure speculation. So that's why I put some things together in these slides, because I'm actually myself pretty enthusiastic about the whole DeFi development. So I want to share these thoughts with you. And let's start with Bitcoin and Austrian economics. I think that a lot of people in this stream and in this room are familiar with Bitcoin, and they know that the Bitcoin is kind of based on Austrian economic principles, like a fixed supply, scarcity, and a system like that is not depending on the power of a government or whatever, and it's managed by the community itself. Here you have a quote by Ludwig von Mises. It's also one of the Austrian economic guys that made a statement about the gold standard. So the Austrian school in the beginning really was not that enthusiastic about Bitcoin because they're really always talking about the gold standard. But now finally, after a few years, they acknowledge that Bitcoin is actually quite something that they like. So that's interesting. Can you all see this? I got this one from Thomas. That's how a Bitcoiner looks at the DeFi space now. So they see a gigantic pile of shit, right? And they say that's the DeFi dividend. Yeah, so that's basically because these Austrian economic principles, they are not applied to DeFi, not to all DeFi projects. A lot of them actually copy systems from the banking system, right? And they are that's the system that the Bitcoiners wanted to escape. So they think, oh, it cannot lead to anything good, right? It's all about greed. It's all about fractional reserve systems and lending schemes. So let's look at the way Bitcoiners think and what I think of that. Because I have some issues with Bitcoin maximalism, and I've rewritten a slide that I also used last year in another presentation. So I think the main arguments are still there, and some I adjusted a bit. But so maximalization, so often Bitcoiners say, well, if you have one hard currency, right, a perfect store of value, then all the other systems are not needed anymore because everything will flow to that system. That's the maximalism view, that because it's like permissionless and fluid systems, there seems no logical reason to stay put in a system that has inflation, for instance, or someone can just inflate the coin supply. But okay, already in economy theory, there's always been argued that maximalism a driver is for innovation, but it's not in the end the optimal state of an ecosystem, because let's think of that we only have Bitcoin as a system, then you only have one system, right? So probably it will get insecure or it will get expensive or whatever, because that's a monopoly. So it's not a perfect space for innovation, it will break in the end. So it's also not in the benefit of Bitcoin that there would only be one Bitcoin. So it's about diversity and interconnectivity. That's what the successful systems in nature are always showing, that the ones that are most diverse, the ones that are interconnective, the ones that can adapt themselves to new environments are the ones that are successful. And I believe that in crypto economies we will see the same. So you will have, for each niche in certain economic spaces, you will have separate, unique economic systems that you can apply. And as it is fluid, that will work pretty well. So if you're interested in reasoning beyond thoughts like this, go to my slides and click on this YouTube link. It's really interesting. Bernard Litter, he's now deceased, but there's still plenty of stuff on the internet. Yeah, so these men you might recognize. This one is Keynes, of course, responsible for the economy that we live in now. Actually, the real economy, so to say. A lot of his thinking is is put into the capitalism as we know it in the Western world. This is Hayek, this is a guy from the Austrian school. In normal economic realities, right, the systems, if they would coexist, right, which they don't really, but let's look at other different systems like socialism and capitalism. Then it's like pretty hard if you want to exit socialism and dive into capitalism or the other way around, right? It's just, you must move from citizenship or move your house and all your family to go to another economy and try the other system. That is not the case in crypto economies, right? If you don't like Bitcoin, you move to Ethereum. It's pretty effortless. It's easy to do, and you can even use it both. Why not use it both at the same time? You can. So that's basically, it's something new. It's something that we didn't have before, and we can now do with blockchain technology. And that's why it's so interesting. And that's why you get these new systems like DeFi that become very interesting. So also, if you look at normal market conditions, right? If you have a system and it's not interesting for anyone, then it will disappear, right? So if Austrian economics was not an interesting system, then Bitcoin would be gone. If a Keynesian system is not interesting, then something like any coin with like Ripple, for instance, a coin with kind of endless supply, which people can just mint coins whenever they want. That would not exist, but it does exist. So apparently there is space for both of them. Yes. So the aim of decentralized finance, of course, is not to copy the failures of banks. It is to create a financial system that's open to anyone and doesn't need a party you have to trust. So it's a financial system which is trustless and which is accessible to anyone. So that's the goal there. So that's also the difference between if you look at Bitcoin and you look at DeFi. DeFi is not money, it's a financial system. It's not about central authority like with banks, but it's about decentralized communities. That's a big difference. And it's not permissioned like banks or anything we know in the real economy, but it's open to anyone. Well, is it open to anyone? That's, of course, the question. Because in this stage, it's probably not open to anyone, right? You need to be tech savvy at least. You need to be a smart kid to be able to use the systems and to understand what you're doing. So at this stage, it's not open to anyone, but in theory, it is open to anyone. And I think in 10 or 20 years, it will be open to anyone, just like the internet is now open to anyone. And everyone across the world is using the internet. And in 1993, that was absolutely not the case.
Or energy is maybe a better example. Everybody can produce energy, which was unimaginable 10 years ago.
Yeah, for producing energy, that's also a good example, indeed. Yeah. So the purpose of DeFi, and that is a very honorable purpose, I think, is to enable anyone to take charge of your financial well-being. So that's kind of a different purpose that I heard of you guys talking before we had this presentation. Right? It was like money scheme, money making schemes, stuff like that. Yeah, so as it is open to anyone, I think that this is something that we have to envision, right? That it will be open for noobs, it will be open for rich people, for poor people. It will also be open for professional bankers or for fund managers. And it's so right now it looks a bit like a game, right? All these emoticons everywhere and this very rapid innovation, right? That something like the creation of Sushi Swap is only a few weeks ago, but if we talk about it, it looks like ages ago, right? So there's a lot happening now, but in the end, the systems will arise from it, which will be used by all these people, and I think there is plenty of space for that, and that's why it's so interesting, right? There's so many kind of products you can make, and I know there's a guy here in the room who bakes pies, which are like recipes for DeFi, and there's so many pies he has for the future to bake, that he can spend his whole life doing it. Oh, now I went 2 slides. Yeah, so this is interesting because DeFi will end up to be actually to have less risk than the crypto space as you know it. And I think that's a bit counterintuitive for most people here, because most people think, you can best put your money in Bitcoin, that's the safest option to do. But if you look from the perspective of a banker, Bitcoin is like pretty dangerous, you know, it's fluctuating all the time. And we know, okay, the value will go up. But if you're outside the crypto space, that is not so logical. So because people get scared all the time. And it's basically because of these things, you know, it's still exploring technology, it's risky and volatile. It has a function, but most money of it is about trading, investing, and speculation. I mean, how many people here have Bitcoin themselves? And do you hold more Bitcoin than you need to spend the next week?
Not Bitcoin.
Probably, right?
Yeah.
More
So-
Bitcoin than need to spend.
Next week, yeah.
So I'm lending money to you.
Now, do you have more Bitcoin now in your wallet at home than you would need next week? No, but if you have like a lot of Bitcoin, right? But you don't need to spend it because you buy one Coca-Cola like every month, maybe somewhere where you can pay with Bitcoin. But you don't have actual need for it. This apparently you're thinking the value goes up, right? So that's basically proving the statement here. That it's basically about speculation. It's not that you need it, because otherwise you cannot travel with public transport, or otherwise you cannot fill your car with gas. That's not why you have Bitcoin. We are all speculating, which is part of the risk in crypto, and part of the fun, of course, as well.
Some see it as a hedge, right, against the euro.
Yeah, it's investing.
It's like not speculating. Yeah, hedging is also speculating. Right?
Yeah, it's
speculating on the
speculating.
possibility that the euro can collapse.
You go long, yeah.
Yeah, it's not like the value of Bitcoin will go up necessarily for. Like
If you would think it would go down, you wouldn't have it, right?
yeah, but go down against what, right?
Yeah, then
If
I
you're
wouldn't
talking about
have-
value, it's not
Yeah.
euro.
Then
it's
I
not euro.
wouldn't have DORA as well. I lose money on DORA. So don't take DORA.
But do you have dollars?
Yes.
More than you need to spend?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I don't. So of course there's always like
also
people
the
that
dollar-
have a different behavior, but for most
Long
people,
term, you're speculating if you keep dollars. I have to say.
against the Bitcoin.
yeah. But if you look at DeFi, for instance, and you are a bank manager, right? You can, and you live in a real world based on dollars, and you use a dollar stablecoin, and you get a predictable of 5% on a year basis. that's less risky than having Bitcoin.
There are other risks.
Of course, and those needs to those are technical risks, and those need to get mature and need to grow, and we need like 10, 20 years. But that's where it will where it will lead us, and that's why this is a very important space. It's about predictability for fund managers, bank managers. It's about being able to diversify their portfolios, right? So they want to diversify on, I think that's the next slide. They want to diversify on projects, they want to diversify on the percentage of gain each year, they want to diversify on tech stack, blockchain. And of course, the benefit you get with DeFi is there's no third-party risk. Of course, there is this technological risk, but there's not the third-party risk of business going bankrupt, and there's no regulation. That's a government risk, as to say. I like to put it like that.
And there's also a systemic risk, right? If you all die and all of the collaterals collapse,
Yeah,
then you're in a tough spot because like the
Yeah.
will not be backed by collateral anymore, and that's not necessarily a technical risk. Well, if you cannot liquidate.
no, that's a systemical risk, which is about the same in normal centralized financial markets, right? A flash crash
Yeah, but
can
then you still have
also
your dollars, right?
eliminate.
Like if you have cash, then you still have your.
Yes, but if you would like have complex financial constructions in the US dollar world, you have these kind of risks as well.
Yeah.
It's about the same.
But in general, when dollar have less risk, you can always increase the taxes. You can always take money from the taxpayers. And,
As a fund manager? As a fund manager, you mean?
not as a fund
As a
manager.
wealth manager, yeah.
I was looking here. This is the slide of the division of a wealth manager, right?
Okay.
You can diversify here. You can of course also diversify between putting money here and in the banking system, right? It's about risk management, and that's why I also think it's very interesting if you look at the project Jörn, that you see all these. You see a list of all these percentages you can get on an annual basis. And it's very interesting because you can pick a project of your liking, right? I want to have 60% APY, then probably it's a bit more risky than if you want to have 5%. And there's plenty of space there still. I think there is, because of a diversification perspective, a wealth manager with a huge fund to manage might want to have positions on each of the levels. And so that's still a bit limited now. So that's why I think there's plenty of pies to bake. But this is this is the world that we are looking at, and it all looks like games now, because we're very early days still, and it's all like experimental. And it's still breaking, and so we have to call it experiments, and we have to treat it like games. But it will lead to something very interesting, I guess.
Especially, I think the tokenization. You can tokenize everything, so you can not only buy those few thousand funds, but you can even take a share in my home, for instance,
Yeah.
or my car. So you can tokenize everything. Trees in the forest. Then you have full flexibility, you have full diversification.
Exactly. Yes, but that was already part of the DeFi 1.0, like Bart explained. So that's the tokenization thing is something that is.
Tokenization of any asset is not yet like you have synthetics, but that's like DeFi 2.0,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
there's
So I was more looking into DeFi 2.0, you know, the one where all the buzz is right now, and also all the discussion, like, is this good or bad? Is this hype? Or is this a start of something that will go on for decades? And so that's a nice thing to discuss about. And that's why I'm very happy that also Thomas pointed me to this website. I saw it once before, but I didn't remember where it was. But this is a nice way to compare the amount of value that is in one of these sectors. And so this is the whole cryptocurrency value, with the Bitcoin colored ones is Bitcoin and the rest is are the other coins. And this is it compared to coins and banknotes that are in circulation. And this is it compares to all the gold in circulation. And
So
if
those
you,
are the derivatives, right?
yeah,
This one also, like from the source, it also includes like derivatives, and that's like bigger than everything.
Yeah, so
combined
that's
times-
on the next slide. So, but this is basically where Bitcoin, where the speculation of Bitcoin is about, right? We suspect Bitcoin will take a huge part of, well, especially of this, or of coins and banknotes, right? Bitcoin will play a part there as digital money and a store of value. That's what we saw the last time, and which I believe will happen. And also part of this, like this is total money supply. This is like digital money, money on your bank accounts, right? It's a bit more, as you see. And then we go to the derivatives. This is actually the space where DeFi wants to take a part. And I don't think, if we want to see how much is DeFi doing in this whole space, I think it's not even like part of one block, right? So, and then let's see how far this goes. Oh, wow. This is kind of endless space, right? Yeah, that's a market of estimated to reach nearly 1 quadrillion US dollar value. That's the space where DeFi is now at start, and that's the space where, let's say, as DeFi takes 1%, that would be logical, then it would be already massive, right? It's a huge opportunity, I think. And that's where I wanted to have discussion about.
That's also the cool thing, like for the users, it's like cool that they can now like decentralize without permissions, without geographic restrictions, can do this stuff. But it's also cool for like people like me who can now actually build financial products where, like, if you wanted to create one in the past or like even now, like an official one, then you need like millions of dollars in licensing.
Exactly.
Ground, and now you pay a lot of gas fees, but you can create like complex financial products.
Yeah.
Like even I can
Yeah.
do it. Like that's
For users, it's free and permissionless, but also for creators.
yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. And you used to need a career in the banking sector first, and then finally, when you reach 10 years of seniority, you get a chance to maybe build your own product, and now you can just do it. Yeah. And you can test it in the market. Like, do people like it? Do they don't like it? Do they lose all their money or not? And yes, so a lot of money is lost all the time, but that's all just experimenting, because there is a bigger goal, and that's what I was trying to tell. So thank you for listening, and see you at the drinks, guys.
Questions? We should also ask the people in the chat. There are 9 streams open right now. 9 people are watching this stream. They're welcome to ask questions, and also in the room, if anybody has questions, please feel free to post.
Yeah. Is the chat option open in the
The chat
live
option is open. I have it here.
Yeah.
I can read questions out, but people will hear this about 11 seconds later than it actually happens.
Okay, cool.
Anybody in the room?
Any questions or suggestions or?
But do you also see what are the key risks of DeFi? Because normally in this world, people who have power, they will regain the power.
Regulation.
Like they do in China, for instance.
Regulation.
People with power don't like to lose power. Do you think that DeFi, will that in the longer term maybe not be regulated or forbidden?
Well,
Just-
like, yeah, real DeFi, of course, cannot be regulated because it's decentralized, but it can be criminalized, of course. That would be a pity if that happens, but it's an option.
I would not be
It's a
surprised.
risk, so to say, and bad code is a risk, but and so or people pretending to be a legit project, but in the end want to take all your money, a bit like a decentralized version of BitConnect, if you can remember that. Yeah, of course there are risks, but
Because those risks are huge. Yeah? If you put your money in, you can lose everything. It's
Yes.
different that you buy a bad car, the car gets broken. Because then it's,
yeah, but so it's not wise to put all your money in one basket.
But you can insure your risk.
You should also so there are.
You can buy insurance.
is that
Yeah.
true? In DeFi you can buy insurance?
Yeah, like if you
Yeah.
lose
Part of
money
DeFi
in
as
the
well.
compound, you can buy insurance on Nexus Mutual. And that's basically like a mutual fund which insures a couple of DeFi projects.
There's a lot of auditing being done on code as well, and of course, most of it's open source, so it's transparent. But yes, there's always risks, and that's why there are rewards as well.
If I may share my take on this, you're asking about regulation. We are seeing currently that regulators are looking very closely at what's happening in the let's say, the common Bitcoin and crypto stream, because these DeFi developments are, I would say, one level more advanced and more complex and less accessible. So if we look at what's happening in the current situation, a lot of regulation is being developed. Personally, I would really not be surprised if that will also happen in this new level of decentralized finance, but it will take time because the regulators are they're behind, and they will need time to catch up. But I would be really surprised if they're not going to also get involved in this field.
They will at least try.
If,
Yeah.
when there's something to gain, at least for the tax authority
Yeah.
already, but also
From the
quote unquote
yeah.
protecting the customer.
From the perspective of Austrian economics, it's like a really cool experiment to not interfere with markets like these, and let the people learn, right? Lose money, learn where to put their money, where not to put their money. I think people are pretty capable of making this a grown-up, mature sector themselves, and they don't need governments for that.
It's the supply side, but the demand side. If there are citizens and they hear about sushi or whatever, and they hear about big returns, it is true the big returns for that quarter. It's the quarter after they lose 80%.
Yes,
So
and then they learn, and then next time they read the manual, right? And that's how it works. And governments basically always try to keep the audience stupid, right? They want to protect them, so they stay stupid.
the DeFi sector does the same. There
but-
is no manual.
Of course, there is. People instruct each other. There's sites, there is YouTubes, there is meetups like this.
Yeah, but in the
That's
crypto-
how it works. That's the organic thing.
Criminal manuals.
But you,
It's very difficult to get the right information. What is true?
It is.
What not true.
yes, and that is the nice challenge, right? And so if you
That's how it
don't,
starts.
It's the same with email providers,
Same with politics. Yeah, it's also.
for example. Yeah.
But it doesn't make it easy. Makes
No.
No.
It's more diverse. It gives you more choice. But it's for a regular citizen with not a huge IQ, it's not.
No. No, but this is what you are confronted with when you're pioneering. When you get into this, you're busy pioneering. This is new. And no,
In about 5 or maybe 10 years, that
Yeah, it
will
becomes
change,
normal.
and you will have some trusted parties
Yeah.
that people will go to. And
yeah, that's interesting, because I think for some people who know, this is not for me. I would rather have a bank servicing me in this, that's already happening. Like you have on Binance, you have which is also a third party. They have DeFi products within the exchange, and they have less returns than if you use them outside the exchange, because you pay a fee to Binance because they manage it for you, and then you also get the trust from Binance, right? And that's perfect. I mean, if you want to use DeFi that way, that's your choice. But the governments, they don't need to interfere in decentralized communities. That's another thing.
If you make a comparison between DeFi and banks.
Well,
On money.
in this case, yeah, Binance, I don't know if that's a bank or, but
No,
it's a trusted party, let's say, yeah.
Well, I would say that DeFi, it's about use cases. It's a full diversity. Why? Because there are so many use cases where it's not only money, but you can tokenize things. You can, with smart contracts, you can make any type of agreement.
Yes, but a centralized institute could do it as well.
It's the same. It strikes me also in the beginning with, for instance, with mobile phones. You had an MMT mobile phone. You could do one thing with it, call from your car. But now with 5G, you can do thousands of applications. So I think the real story behind this is you can full freedom to support all kinds of use cases, and that enables also people to create it. And that gives also control to the people.
Yes, but
Then you become less linked to the financial system itself, because you can share value, have agreements totally outside of that system.
But still, you can do that either centralized, which would be a bank-like system, or you can do it decentralized, and that's when we call DeFi.
You
So
cannot
if you-
do
if
it
you-
with a centralized system, because centralized system is only performing the function that you can transfer money.
No. Centralized, like Binance, can, for instance, service you to put money that you have in DeFi systems, and ensure that, right? And then it's centralized finance, but it's the same function, same use case. It's just you put a trusted party in between.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have a question from Oink. It's a technical question.
Nice.
He says, what is your opinion, what is in your opinion the future of DeFi? Will it stay on application level on top of the blockchain, or do you see full protocol integrated solutions coming?
Yeah, I see full protocol integrated solutions coming, because Oink as well as me come from a multi-chain world in which you can do that. You are able to do that. So
we're already seeing, like on Polkadot, there's like a new driving DeFi ecosystem which is well funded, and like
Exactly, yeah.
some serious projects on there. They are like building quite
Polkadot, wasn't Polkadot on top of Ethereum?
No, Polkadot's not on top. It's made by one of the co-founders of Ethereum.
And it's
Oh,
also a multi-chain system.
I
Yeah,
see.
so yeah.
Like there's a Uniswap type thing is coming, and lending markets and stable coins. They're basically mimicking everything that's happening on Ethereum and creating it on Polkadot, but doing it on the application-specific chain, so it should
Exactly.
work better.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Oink,
Yeah,
it's
so that's
the
very
latter,
interesting.
the
Yeah.
latter part of your question will be the answer according to this group.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
That's
I
it.
think all these things will coexist, right?
Yeah, one doesn't exclude the other, indeed. Yeah.
Yeah,
There's
exactly.
a huge benefit in having like this single, like even Ethereum 2.0 doesn't have like, but Ethereum 1.0, I can like swap one token for another, and put it in a liquidity pool there, and then, I don't know, deposit it on a lending protocol and lend some other asset and do something with it all in one transaction. But if you have all these things living on different chains, then you need to move your funds, you need to wait, because like these multi-chain solutions are always asynchronous, so nothing happens like in one go.
Exactly.
So there's like a huge benefit of having a single DeFi chain which is used for
Yeah.
settlement, and that's like you're gonna use that one in bigger amounts, but still like.
Exactly.
Okay.
So that's maybe also how it will coexist, right? Smaller amounts in specific chains, bigger amounts in a main chain solution. But as I said on the slide with the Austrian and Keynesian economics, right? Both systems can coexist in crypto space, and the same is here. I think it can all coexist as long as people use it, as long as people think it has value, it's there and you can use
it.
it.
You need to exist at scale, right? If you look now at crypto, like in layer ones, I think there's only two. Like at this very moment, there's only two projects which are relevant, which are Bitcoin and Ethereum. Like the rest is barely has any users, does not generate enough fees to be sustainable long term. So, like they can coexist, but to be a small player is like very, very difficult.
True. Thank you. Any more questions? Then we're going to end the stream.
Thanks.
And we wish all the viewers a nice drink at home. And we're also going to have one. Thanks.